Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Beck, and this is It's Not About Us. And we are, of course, the one that talks about how God is the one that's going to always be the one that's going to help us to overcome the evil in this country right now. And I have a very special guest today that I'm very excited about. His name is Tom Homan, and I'm sure you've heard lots about him and from him. He worked very closely with President Trump, and he will again. Am I right, Tom?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, we have been to the border. I was down there several years ago, and we know a lot that's happening now. And we have people on the border right now looking at what's happening. And, Tom, what can we do as people of this country to help overcome what's happening?
Well, I think you need to make a demand of your representatives, whether they're congressman, senator, whether Republican or Democrat. The border issue should be a nonpartisan issue because it's not about illegal immigration. A lot of people think it's all about illegal immigration. It's really not about illegal immigration solo, because when you cause a crisis this big, we got millions of people come to our border, it overwhelms the Border Patrol. So on an average day, 70 to 90% of agents have been pulled off patrol to deal with this humanitarian crisis.
Right.
Then what happens? Fentanyl comes through. That's killed 112,000 Americans. The sex trafficking of women and children skyrocket. The attempt by a terrorist and those off the terrorist watch list are up 600%. So they arrested like 300 people off the terrorist watch list just last year. Under President Trump's administration, we did 11 in 4 years. They did 18 in 1 month. So when you cause a crisis this big, a self-inflicted wound, because they opened the border up, it causes all these bad things: public health, public safety, known suspected terrorists, sex trafficking women and children. That's why it's important to, regardless of what your party affiliation is, no one supports sex trafficking women and children. No one supports smuggling fentanyl. No one supports no suspected terrorists coming across a border. So get your representative and say, put illegal immigration aside for a minute, secure the border, and protect this country.
Right. So, I have a crazy idea, question for you. And it's pretty out there, that I would like to hear your opinion. Why can't we have other people down there doing the humanitarian stuff and let the Border Patrol do their job? Do you think there's a feasible way to do something like that?
Yeah, I certainly think when it comes to preparing meals and preparing meals and taking care of young children that cross the border by themselves, I think there's a room for a civilian workforce to go down and volunteer to do non-enforcement duties, much like the National Guard. National Guard's down there, but they don't do arrests. They don't enforce immigration law. They do a lot of logistics, transportation, and radar and targeting targeting stuff like that. Stuff they're good at,
right?
But not actually enforcing immigration law. So yeah, I think there is a place for civilians. I don't know if this administration would agree to it, but some of the non-enforcement duties that don't require an armed law enforcement officer to do, certainly that would give Border Patrol a lot of relief, so we get more people back on the line.
So I'm speaking to the all these organizations across the country, whether it's Salvation Army or any of the other ones. I think that it's time that we get together and we stand together to help the Border Patrol, to help the people that are struggling to keep up with all this, and find a way where we can set up some places along the border to help with that kind of stuff. I think that would be very powerful.
Again, I think it'd be useful because it's going to put more armed officers on the border to seize more fentanyl.
Right.
To hopefully prevent, suspected terrorists across the border. Actually arrest somebody for trafficking, because right now the Border Patrol is so overwhelmed, they don't even do an investigative interview anymore like they should. It get down the weeds on who this person is, where they come from, what's the purpose of coming here. They're in such a hurry to process and release that their core duties of protecting homeland security is being ignored just because of the vast numbers. So anything we can do to relieve them of some of the non-enforcement duties, they'll give them time to do more deep dive investigations of these people.
Right.
It'll allow more guys on the border to actually stop more drugs. It'd have great results. I guarantee it'd have great results.
Yeah.
And the Border Patrol would welcome it.
Yeah. The only thing is what would be the safety issues for the people that came down and volunteered?
Well, again, you have to have a security workforce, but It's much like what Catholic Charities and some of these organizations do now. They're taking care of a lot of these groups once they get released.
Right.
Except you be taking care of them while they're, while they're being processed. You take care of all the other needs there, whether it's preparing meals or whatever. But I mean, you'd be surrounded by law enforcement. So I don't think there's a significant security issue. The security issue comes if we have non-law enforcement people doing enforcement work. That's where the security issue is.
Right,
the worst.
exactly. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I've always been impressed by your heart and the way that you really care about not just the people that are on the Border Patrol and the people that are fighting against the evil that's coming in, but also the compassion that the Border Patrol have for the people coming in that have been easily and they've been lied to. They've been told, you're coming here to have a better country. I mean, I've heard stories of people that made it to New York City and up to Washington, and they decided that it was so bad that they were left on sidewalks that they went to Canada, and it was so bad they came back. So this really speaks to how unprepared this country is to take care of any of it. And so what can you think of anything else we can do or any other suggestions?
Well, look, the reason I get so emotionally involved in this is because of the terrible tragedies I've seen in my 34 years doing the job.
Oh, I bet.
An open border is not humane, because when you make a promise like this administration has, you can enter the country legally.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be processed quickly. We'll fly you to the city of your choice at taxpayer expense. We'll give you work authorization. We'll put you in a hotel room. We'll give you 3 squares a day. When you make those type of promises to the whole world, they're going to come, especially the most vulnerable. And I argue all the time under President Trump, when we had illegal immigration at a 45-year low, illegal immigration at some points during administration was down almost 90%. When 90% less people are coming, how many of them didn't die on the trip? How many women didn't get sexually assaulted by the criminal cartels?
Yeah. Oh,
how many known suspected terrorists did get across? How many pounds of fentanyl didn't get in the country kill Americans? Secure borders save lives. So you can have compassion, but it's not compassion to open our borders up, because what these vulnerable people are going to do, they're going to give the cartels their life savings to come to the United States under a false pretense that they qualify for asylum. They simply don't. Come into our country for a better life, that's not asylum. So they'll end up getting ordered removed by an immigration judge. Then what?
Yeah.
They go back to their homeland with nothing. So the most humane thing to do is secure the borders so they don't take that dangerous journey.
Right.
And get Congress to fix the system. If we actually need more employees to do that type of work, then create a system they come on with a visa and do the work and go home. That way, they're not paying criminal cartels to swim across the river. They can come to a port of entry with a visa and not have to pay off any criminal organization.
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's what needs to happen.
Well, I think the saddest thing is that these countries where they're coming from, they need to take care of their own people that they're not, in the position where they feel like they need to get to the United States. It's the only place to go that's safe.
Well, and I get that. We can't be the welfare nation for the entire world. We can't afford it. However, you got countries like Mexico, where just last year, they got $61 billion in remittance payments. So the aliens live here, they make a paycheck, they send a lot of money back to their families in Mexico. And I get that. Yeah. But that adds to the Mexican economy. Rather than Mexico taking care of the lower income people, they count on the United States remittances to do that.
Right.
So Mexico needs to stand up and take care of the population so that people don't have to feel that, hey, I got to leave my homeland because I can't survive here.
Right.
Their government should be taking care of them. But while they keep getting $61 billion a year, which is a big part of their GDP, they don't want to fix this problem. It's free U.S. money.
No, and that's not going back to the people.
Most of
that's going in other people's pockets.
So, the problem with Mexico and Central America is not everybody, and I want to make sure I said not everybody, but a big part of the Mexican government is corrupt. That's just a fact. I've worked with them for 35 years.
Right.
There's some good people down there who want to do the right thing. They join the government to do the right thing. But there are also those who are they're not good people. And the money that the United States always sends millions of dollars in Central America to create what they call opportunity zones, to create jobs so people don't feel like they got to leave.
Right.
That money never gets to the people.
No.
That money
That's
get that, go, that just lines the pockets of politicians, and that's and that's what we got to do. What we got to do is threaten these countries like President Trump did one time, and just said, look, I'm not going to give you money to create opportunity zones. I want to start taking international aid away unless you prove to me it's going to the right people. That's the way you fix it. You turn the tables around. Make them take care of their people, or you don't give them international aid. Make sure that aid goes to the people that need it.
Right, right. What do you think about our National Guard or our armies or our people fighting the cartel here in the United States? Because we know they're coming over the border. They're on our side. They come in here and fight. They cause problems.
We need a president strong enough that's going to take the cartels out.
Right.
The government of Mexico is not going to do it.
No.
Number one, I don't think they have the capability because the cartels are so powerful now.
Right.
They've been emboldened. They've been enriched by this administration because of the open borders.
Right.
It's going to take the United States. It's going to take our intelligence apparatus. It's going to take our special ops to take these guys off the face of the earth. And people say, well, that's pretty harsh talk. Well, look, the criminal cartels of Mexico have killed more Americans through drug overdoses than any terrorist organization in the world.
Right.
They should be classified terrorists and treated as such. And it's going to take the United States direct involvement to dismantle them and destroy them.
Right, right. Well, basically, they are invading our country. Am I right?
Yeah. It's
okay.
invasion.
So if they're invading our country, there has to be laws where we can protect ourselves from invasion. I know there are. Okay. So if we can get President Trump back in, and we're going to, no matter what, we've got to make sure of that, then I think that we need to push them back. Instead of them pushing us back and trying to get in our country, we need to push them back and defeat the cartel.
We got to take the cartels out because
that's right.
No one crosses the border without paying the cartels or plaza fees or taxes. Cartels are making more money now than they've ever made in sex trafficking, women and children, alien smuggling, drug trafficking. So, yeah, we're not going to fix the border unless we take the cartels out.
Right, right. And, I know a lot of the Border Patrol. I live in Tucson. And Tucson is one of the largest hit areas in the country as far as border crossings. And I know a lot of those guys down there. And
actually, Arizona, Tucson, that's the gateway to fentanyl. Over half the fentanyl seized in this country comes through Arizona.
That's right. And so what I'm saying is, I know these guys. I know one in particular that in the years he's been in, he has found over 100 dead bodies himself, just him. So you multiply that by how many men that we have that are on the border protecting it and are watching it. How many over their service as the border have you totaled out? How many hundreds of thousands of people have died there in one form or another, whether they've drowned in the river or they burn up in the desert in the summer? I mean,
look, we have
horrible.
people. We've had a minimum of 1,700 that we found on U.S. soil, and there's many that we'll never find.
Right.
Some of you drowned in the river. Some that I was out to Brooks County, Texas, and I was working the sheriff there. I was with him for 4 hours. We found 2 dead bodies, and he told me then they probably find less than half of them because by the time they're found, the animals are already torn apart. The coyotes and the wild hogs.
Right.
So they might just find a backbone or a skeleton, but many they won't find, but many more would die in Mexico and in Central America, especially the Darien Gap in Panama. Thousands have died in the Darien Gap.
Right.
So this again, when you make a promise like this administration did, that you won't be detained, you'll be released, you get work authorization, and amnesty's coming, and we're going free medical care. They're going to come.
Right.
They're going to come to the greatest nation on earth, and when you open that window, they're going to come, and that's what they've done. This administration unsecured the border.
Right.
I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan up to Trump. Every president I worked for, including Clinton, Obama, took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have national security, border security. You need to know who's coming in and what's coming in.
That's right.
Well, President Biden's the first president in the history of this country who came into office and unsecured the border.
That's right.
Think about that.
He invited them. Come on, we've all heard it on tape. come to America. We're here. You're welcome to come. This is a great place. I mean, he said it out loud himself on national TV over and over again. And of course, now he's trying to say the border is secure. You talk about the big lie. That is the big lie.
Right.
And so thank you for being on my show. And I really enjoyed this conversation. I look forward to seeing what happens in the future because I feel like God's got us and he's going to take care of us. And with people like you backing President Trump and backing what needs to be done in this country, particularly on the border, it's the biggest job, there's so many things of importance right now. But closing that border is going to protect the people of this country. What's it been, about 8 million that have crossed the border in the last couple of years since Biden got in? You take 8 million people, that's a lot of damage they can do, and we're already seeing it day by day by day.
Well, look, I wake up every day upset because they purposely unsecure the border, which is costing thousands of lives, and we're going to get it back. We're going to secure the border. We're going to save lives.
Yeah, my heart always goes out to the men in the armed forces when they go out and battle for our country. But the Border Patrol is doing that as well every day. And it can't be easy. I mean, I've heard of so many Border Patrol committing suicide and living in devastation, losing their families over the fight that they're in. So many terrible things. So I'm just going to pray for them and ask everybody out there, please pray for our Border Patrol. Pray for the people like Tom Homan and the others that are fighting the big battle, that are going to continue to do it, even though he's not in charge right now. Like he said, he wakes up every day thinking about this and worried about what's going to happen. Only God can answer these calls to the people nowadays. Look, we need to know that, and we need to be part of that. So be brave, stand strong, pray for people like Tom Homan and all the other men that are fighting this big battle. And God bless you all, and thank you for being on CPAC Now.
And if they could, please go to border911.com.
Yeah.
See what we're doing.
Yes.
Help us out. Again,
please.
Every dime we bring is for operational expenses to tell the truth to American people who are traveling throughout the country. We want to start doing a live show. Again, I started as profit-free. It's not for making money.
Right.
It's for paying for our expenses, get the message out. So border911.com. Please go to it and see if you can help us.
Yes, border911.com. Please go to it. Please pray for them. And thank you again, Tom, for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And we're praying for all of you. So come back to our show soon. And remember, go to ElaineBeck.com and you'll see all of the shows anytime you want. God bless you.